Is it
Nailed
time?
it.
Is it time for Coach Carter?
Sure. Let's go for it. Keep me
Okay.
keep me honest with 10 minutes.
I mean that was just a rough base because I told you the last one was 23 and you're surprised.
Yeah. We'll go through really quick. We'll talk about we got some feedback on setting up the home plate and everything like that. And I think we're gonna
I'm gonna work
work our
towards
way
that.
up the ice. We're gonna
Yeah.
work towards that.
So
I
if
think neutral. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I need to intro the segment. So if you haven't seen our last week's episode, we started a new segment where each week we kind of go over a basic hockey tactic. I think as fans, we feel like the general base knowledge of how the game works is a little bit lower than other sports. I feel like if you listen to a basketball podcast, they'll talk about a lot of strategy there. Football, it's all strategy. Soccer, you'll talk about formations and everything like that. Um, it's I think with hockey, the baseline and what the conversation is around the sport, and if you're talking with your buddy, you're not talking about an umbrella power play, or you're not talking about how this like breakout kind of worked, or they rim whatever, all this kind of jargon. Um, we'd like to change that a little bit and kind of up the base knowledge. I'm obviously not coming from inside the sport, and then Chris and Carter are two wonderful coaches for Georgian College up in Barrie. Go Grizzlies! And Carter here is going to be going through every week, kind of just a new little tactic. So I think to this week for our second one, I think we're going to try. Like obviously we said, just going up the ice. Um, I want to look at what neutral zone counters are. So you're in the neutral zone. So what scenario would be a neutral zone counter? What would you use that term for in the game scenario?
Yeah. Yeah. And just not talking about like rimming with my buddies. Um, sorry. You said
I
rimming.
mean,
That's what I
mean,
was hooked on. What? That's hooking our
I
listeners.
mean, yeah,
Uh,
that I didn't even. Wow. For
yeah.
me,
Well,
not to like improv off that and yes and notice
well,
I said that.
we're gonna talk about rimming here, which is great. So it was a good. It's good that you picked up on
Thank
it.
you.
But neutral zone counters, like I think it's when we talked about the breakout last week. I think neutral zone counters are something that and will what they are really is they're getting past the neutral zone before, or it's getting your team on the offense through the neutral zone before the team that you're going up the ice on has even time to set up their defense or their trap, which is what we'll go over in that neutral zone, and how you get through that neutral zone as quickly as possible. Um, and so that Hi Thomas.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Hello. So
Hello.
this is a team getting regaining possession in the neutral zone.
So no, getting possession in the neutral zone is a regroup.
Okay.
We're talking about a counter.
What's the scenario? So like you're in.
So the
So
scenario is you've broken out of your end. All right. So
okay, the breakout's
if
done.
we're the breakout's done, we're starting. So I'm going to use my board, and now we've got the puck, and we're now here. All right. So let's set up our forward one.
We're on
He skated
the right side
the
by
right
your
side of
own
the
blue
ice
line.
by our own blue line. Forward one has started to skate up the ice with the puck. The breakout's already happened, and it's gone to forward one here. Okay. How the defense works, all right, is or we're going to use forward as the five guys going down the ice to score,
Okay.
and the defense are the five guys that are going
Forward has possession, and
forward
then
has
defense
possession.
is
So
the opposition. Okay.
traditionally, how it works is you have a defender that's close and by this forward. You have another one that's relatively close here,
Kind of more
and
by
then you
center
have
ice. Okay.
more near center ice, and then you have another forward who's closer to the other end of the ice, and then you have your defense who are they're in kind of the same formations as the forward. So your fourth defender is closer to the boards on the blue line that the forward's breaking out on, and then your last defense is on the farther side of the ice because when you travel down the ice, you're going to see the players starting to move in a way that there's going to be five of them moving up the ice, and there's still got to be some man coverage on
Mhm.
on that ice, right? And so when you hear like teams talk about the trap in the neutral zone, what that is it's setting up one forward high forechecking against the player that's breaking out, and then you have two players that are more in the middle of the neutral zone on either side of the ice, and then two players that are closer to their blue line or just inside their blue line, farther down the ice, closer to their net. And so that you call it a 1-2-2 setup. It's the trapezoid,
Mhm.
it clogs up the middle of the ice, and it really does it well. And you started to see like the big success with the trap. I think it started in the 90s with New Jersey, and New Jersey really figured it out, and they just played really boring trap hockey, and they shut it down, and they're able to turn
Mhm.
it around on teams. And we can talk about the regroup in the next episode. I feel like counters are going to bring us over time here, anyways. Um,
There's no,
but
but just general,
but but
general
the
time.
goal of the goal of the counter is to get
Mhm.
past all of these defenders before they even set up this trap, right? And so the big thing for the counter, and it's not exciting hockey, but you see it the most in the NHL than any other play through the neutral zone, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get past all of these defensemen in a way that they're going to be flat-footed when they get in their own end, and they're not going to have the opportunity to set up in their end when the players get the puck. So what I mean by that is counter is this forward skating up the ice. So we're still on the forward that has the puck on the boards, and skating past their blue line. What you're going to see from them is they're going to get over the red line, and they're going to dump it in as soon as they get over the red line. And what that does is that puck is going to move faster than any defender can skate on any given day of the week. So what that does is that forward who's carrying it through the neutral zone, they're banking on getting it over the red line and that puck in the zone, and they're banking on, now we're going to forward two, who's on the farther side of the ice, getting to that puck and getting down into that end and getting
Mhm.
control faster than these defenders who are skating backwards and trying to defend them. So the neutral zone counter that we're seeing is they're countering the defense that the team is setting up. And it sounds a bit backwards when you say it, because it's not a counter to any play. What it is it's an offense that's trying to put the defense on their heels. So you'll see there's a strong side counter and there's a weak side counter. And all that is what player is better set up to get to that puck before the defense can get it, right? And so what I've drawn on the board here is a strong side counter. So where you go down and you dump the puck around the boards the same direction that you're already skating in, and you're
Mhm.
banking on your far side forward going in and picking up that puck. And what that'll allow you to do is that allows this forward then to go skate in and start to help to set up a cycle in the offensive zone, and then this forward the setup for an option in the slot, right? And that's alluding to the home plate that we'll talk to later on. But what the counter does is that allows the players to get travel through the neutral zone and over the red line and in faster than those defensemen will ever be able to set up. And that's why you see teams dumping and chasing all the time and getting the puck before the defenders, because even though it seems like they're just letting go of possession of the puck, it's a very controlled play where they're relying on their other forwards to regain that possession faster than the defense can counter a play to it, right? And so that's the biggest and most common example that we see is that strong side counter here. So the forward one is going up the boards in the same direction, not breaking off the boards. And as soon as they get over the red line, they dump it in on the same side that they're skating, and they're counting on the forwards on the other side of the ice to get to that puck behind the defenseman. So, and the big thing here is that second forward, they're at the blue line ready to cross over at the moment in time that the puck crosses the blue
Mhm.
line. And so that's the big thing here. And that's why you see that dump and chase system. Like you're almost, you have two forwards that are already skating over the blue line the moment the puck gets over the blue line, and they're putting the defenseman on their heels, right?
Yeah. So it's really all about speed. So the neutral zone counter, it's more of a speed game.
It's all about speed, and it's counting on the puck being faster than the defenders, and it's counting
Mhm.
on the forwards that don't have possession of the puck being faster than the defenders moving down with the play. And just, I guess, to go, just to illustrate really quickly what the weak side counter is you'll have this forward skating up the ice, and as soon as he gets over the red line, what he'll do is he'll dump that puck in to the opposite corner, and
Okay.
he'll look for this second forward who's against the boards to collect that puck in the opposite corner. And what that does is it sets up a bit of a different play. This forward then can come in and start to set up the cycle here. So the forward that's more towards the center of the ice can come in to support that second player who's gone on the weak side. And then this forward comes in and is the option now, right? And so it's all reactive on the forward who's carrying the puck over the red line. He's got to realize where his players are on the ice and where there's going to be the greater success of getting that puck back after it leaves your stick. And so, dependent on where those forwards are at the time he's over the red line, he's either going to give them a better opportunity at it by going weak side, or he's the better opportunity is going strong side and ringing it around, right? And so,
Mhm.
I think it's they're both, I think, equally as effective. Like it just matters, or it matters where they're picking up the puck, right? Like is it something where they're going to pick it up against the boards? Are they going to pick it up shallow as soon as it gets into the corner, or is like it's all dependent on how fast your players are skating and where they're at on their blue line and on those defensemen, right?
Yeah, because even like I could see the scenario where a weak side counter is used is where, say, the defenseman covering the forward with possession is a little bit faster,
Yeah,
like a Quinn Hughes or something. Um, and by dumping it in the opposite corner, it's obviously going to the farthest point away from that defender and
yeah,
catching the
and you
other
see,
defender off, and then you get a bigger, maybe like a more winger that's more comfortable with possession on the weak side, and then so
yeah,
he could get kind of start that cycle.
and honestly, a lot of the time that you see a weak side over a strong side counter is when you see more of a, I'll draw it on here, but I'll also explain it, where you see more of an umbrella setup from the defenders. And
Okay.
so when you see something more like this, and I'll explain it as soon as I get down once I draw it out. But when you see something more like a 3-1-1 setup in
Yeah.
the neutral
Okay.
zone, so if the defenders are really favoring one side of the ice and you have a lot of jerseys on one side of the ice, a lot of the time you'll see a weak side dump in based off of where the defenders are as well. And so the defender that's at the very end of the chain, that 3-1, and then the last one on the chain, he's going to have a lot harder of a time skating to that far corner of the ice
Hmm.
than he is to the corner that he's closer to, right? And he's the only guy back at that point. And so a team will recognize that, okay, it's a 3-1-1 in the neutral zone. They're really front heavy and they're loading up. And so what I want to do is I want to capitalize on only having one guy back. I'm going to throw it into the corner that's going to be the hardest for him to retrieve, and then I'm going to go for that, right? And so that's like the dump in. The last counter that's like a lot less common is one where they've set up the trap, and this is like a real danger play almost. Um, but it's like you can also like you can split the D even so, if you have something that's
Mhm.
set up where they've set up their traditional trap, and there's a 1-2-2, and you have your forward skating down the ice, um, and you have a forward here that's skating, and then you have like a forward that's skating up towards the center of the ice, and then a forward that's skating up the boards like they're going to dump it in, and then you have the two defensemen skating up with the puck, and let's say this last defenseman has the puck. So we have defenseman number 5. He's at the broom ball line here, um, and so that's like just at the top of the circles in the defensive zone. What they're going to do is if they recognize that the player who's skating on the far side, so on the weak side, if he instead realizes that the play isn't going to catch up with his speed and the puck's not going to get over the red line or over the blue line by the time he hits it, you'll see him cross like this. And there's two options here. This is where we can talk next week about the regroup. But the last part of like this counter is splitting the D. It's a pretty high risk play, but we see it from time to time.
Okay, yeah.
But that's like the last counter that gets past the defenseman, is that forward recognizing that the puck's not going over the red line. They're not wanting to break their speed and stop. So they're cutting across and looking for an option. And that, like I said, it's less common. You see this more with breakouts or like a one-on-one scenario. But it's the last like real big counter is like splitting the D and getting behind them, right?
Well, I think we all learned today. Um, yeah, that it makes sense. It's the what's interesting about this series is like it's almost coming from someone that I've watched hockey all my life, but it's like I'm maybe the last year or so I've gone to into like really wanting to know more of how it's gone, how it runs. It's
Yeah.
like it's almost like you have to think about the game like freeze frame. Like
Yeah.
it's like here, it's like we just talked about breakouts. That is maybe like a second, and then what we're talking about now is like the next half a second of
Yeah.
play, and then it's just like it's just stepping, step. Where it's like in the NHL, it's so fast that it just like goes up the ice, and you don't even if you're watching it, you'll just think of like they're just going up the ice, like
Yeah. And
um,
and and for people who don't like have like a more like finite understanding of like the game and why they're doing what they're doing, it is weird to see someone like it's really hard to get the puck out of your own end. Like the breakout is hard.
mhm.
It's important, but it's really hard. And why would you do all that work just to get to the red line and throw it off your stick? And so it's a confusing play, but it is a play that like you see it the majority of the NHL, and it's so you don't break your momentum down the ice.
Mhm.
And I think that's why it's so important and it's so widely used, is because it's all speed, it's all not breaking that speed, and it's all using like full gas all the way down the ice, right? And that's why you see players get off after 30 seconds, 45 seconds,
Yeah,
because they're traveling so fast down the ice after they've worked so hard to get it out of their end, that they're going to want the best opportunity to get that puck and get a shot. And what that is getting past the defenders, right? And so I think that's why we see the counter, something that's used so commonly and so widespread across the NHL, right?
yeah, exactly. Um, Chris, I'm gonna call you out for yawning twice during the segment.
Uh, yeah, it's been a long few days, boys. I'm sorry. I'm just a little
Keep
sleepy. I no
I
one
know
loves a
I
certain
re
wasn't I
players.
no
wasn't
one loves a
actually.
no one loves a regroup or a trap more than I do. My teams will tell you that.
Yeah,
So anyhow,
Chris and all the players hate when I say dump and chase hockey.
I mean,
yeah. And I don't mind it. The thing is, guys, is that what may feel like boring or like slow or like kind of monotonous hockey, like there's always a time and a place for it.
a logic to
If
it.
you're, yeah, or if you're defending a team. And yeah, I mean, Carter and I work through this type of stuff all the time, and I'm grateful that, he's going to be able to share it with people that are interested. So
Yeah,
that's good.
Mhm.
and
I'm feeling good.
it's not glamorous hockey, like, and I think that's why people hate it so much. Like neutral zone counters are not highlight reel hockey, and they never will be, right? Unless there's that
Yeah.
big split the D breakout pass, like that you see those in the highlight reel, but like it's people hate playing it because they can't toe drag and they can't get a nice
Yeah.
wild opportunity from it, right? Like it really is a transitional play that isn't fun. It's not fancy, but it's there's a reason why it works and everyone uses it, right?